Alright, hello everyone, welcome back. Today we got a brand new Boruto chapter, Boruto chapter 27, Bet Your Life on It. Let's go ahead and jump right into it because we got quite a bit to discuss. So to start off, as always, cover page review. Gonna be honest, don't really like this cover. I don't know if it's because I don't like the posing or because I'm not a big Inojin fan, but I don't think it's a bad cover, but like, I don't think it's great. It's just kind of meh. I do like that the pose is a little bit different than usual, because usual poses we get for Boruto is kind of just the character staring at us or like looking out from the cover. This one we kind of got him looking off screen towards someone else. He's got a weapon behind him, so it's a little different. The coloring, I'm not a big fan of yellow, so I think that's also part of the reason why I'm not a big fan of this, is that yellow is just kind of ugly looking to me. The purple's nice. I feel like we've used that purple quite a bit of times for the covers, so it's not a horrible cover. I like the background, just having the like speed lines. I think it looks clean, but like, not a big fan of it. But regardless, let's move on and get into the actual chapter. So to start off with, we pick up exactly where we left off with Damon having his hands around Sarada and Sumeri's throats after finding out that they are immune to Ada's omnipotence and also her attraction. I don't know what you want to call it, attraction ability. Basically, her being able to force everyone to love her. So Damon's basically letting them know, because he does let them go immediately after, and he just basically tells them, "You understand now, right? You make one move, I kill you on the spot before you even realize it." And then Ada proceeds to talk, saying how unnatural it is that these two are immune to her. And she's wondering what could be the cause. Is it because that they've fallen in love with Boruto and he's taken their hearts, so that way she's not able to make them fall in love with her? But she says that can't explain it, because there's plenty of people inside and outside the village who carry a torch for Kawaki and Boruto. Now that's a little interesting to me. How does Ada know that? And also, for Boruto being a traitor, how many people inside and outside of the village like Boruto enough to where Ada would consider that a reason why they might be immune? You know? Unless carry a torch doesn't exactly mean romantic love, but just heavy feelings for it, because then that could mean, oh, they care for Boruto as like a brother, or just a loved one or something, but not exactly like romantic. But regardless, just very interesting. Seems like a really random sentence. Like Kawaki, I can kind of make sense considering he's kind of seen as the village hero technically, but yeah, Boruto, that it just seemed really random for that line to be in there. And we proceed to move on to Ada saying that she believes that she excluded both of them from the omnipotence, and that's also why they are immune to her attraction ability. Because if you remember, Sarada and Sumeri did used to be somewhat affected by Ada, if I remember right. In pre-time skip, they were resistant to it, but they definitely did have some feelings of like wanting to please Ada, wanting to be Ada's friend unconsciously. Because they had that whole talk on them with the bed, like this is right before the whole Kawaki and Boruto switch happened, where they wanted to talk about being ordinary friends, and Ada believes that is the moment where she basically wished for them to be ordinary friends, which means they could not be affected by her abilities. So when omnipotence happened a little bit after this conversation, it automatically excluded the both of them. So that is what Ada's going by, and because of that, Ada's actually kind of happy about this, because now she can actually have a normal relationship with people. Because throughout her entire life, or at least as long as she's had this ability, everyone's liked her because of her ability, not because of her. She hasn't really had any real friends. So she sees this as a stroke of good luck, or good fortune. And she actually even says that she doesn't mind it too much if they were the ones to kill her. That line is interesting, because I feel like that's not really Ada saying that because she wants them to be the ones to kill her. I think it's more of she's still afraid of what she saw with Mamushi when he managed to catch her while she was spying on the Senju clones, that she'd rather die to these two, Sumeri and Sarada, than dying to the tree clone of Mamushi. So that's why I believe she said that line, and it makes a lot of sense, you know, fearing for her life, fearing that monster. She'd rather be killed by two people that she cares about and knows rather than being killed by the monster she's afraid of. Sarada proceeds to grab Sumari's hand and runs towards Ada. Damon gets a little suspicious at first, but then Sarada just turns out she wanted to hug Ada. She brought them all in for a big group hug, and Sarada basically says, "I've never heard of a mutual life or death friendship." And Ada's asking Sarada, "What's with this hug?" And Sarada's basically saying, "It's proof of my resolve as well as our friendship." And Ada basically tells them thank you, both of them, for kind of accepting these weird circumstances that are going on between them. Because they both know, like, oh, we can kill you at any moment if you do anything to annoy me because of Damon. And Sarada and Sumari also know that they are the biggest threats to Ada because they're the only ones not affected by her ability. So if by some random chance they were able to get Damon away from her, she could potentially be killed by these two. So they're basically both accepting that right now we're both each other's friends, but also greatest danger, which is kind of interesting to see. And then from there, we move on back to the hideout with Boruto, Koji, and Inojin. And Shikamaru is here as well through the mind transfer jutsu. And Koji's basically explaining what Mamushi will be doing and what his abilities are. And his ability is actually pretty broken. His ability is Division, and it's basically Shadow Clone Jutsu, but juiced up, because with Shadow Clones, each of them, you're splitting up your chakra, which means you're technically separating your power between so many bodies, so you're not one body is at full power. It's basically like your full power split up into pieces. Mamushi is different. His clones are all equal to just one of him, which means they all have the same power. None of them, he's not weakening himself by dividing himself. They're all at his normal full strength, which is scary. That is extremely scary to think about. So basically, he's not weakening himself by dividing. So him dividing is a huge issue. I mean, we've already seen the damage Naruto can do with his clones, even though they're split off from his own personal power. So imagine if Naruto didn't have to worry about that, and each one of his clones were basically him at full power. That would be scary, and that's exactly the situation we're in. But his abilities do have one drawback, and that is he gets dumber. I kid you not, the more he separates, the dumber he gets. They become more and more simple and rely more on just primal instincts rather than intelligent thought. So Shikamaru basically tells her, ask Koji, is our best plan here is to let them divide until they become stupid enough for us to kill them all at once. And that's basically, Koji says precisely. But there's one more thing. You have to destroy both of his eyes. By destroying both of his eyes, that will prevent him from being able to make more duplicates. But you also have to destroy both of the eyes on the duplicates, because the duplicates can also make duplicates of themselves. So basically, on every single copy of Mamushi, you have to destroy each one of their eyes in order to prevent that from happening. But if you take them out one by one, Mamushi is going to get his intelligence back as well. So that's why you have to let him divide and then take them all out at once. You can't start picking them off one by one. Because if you do, you're just going to be giving Mamushi back his knowledge, which will let him plan and counterattack easier rather than just relying on primal instinct. So, but you got to be careful, because if you let him divide too much, then you're going to just get overwhelmed by pure numbers. So Koji says our best plan is to let him reach about 20 to 30 duplicates. That is when they become easier to handle, like you're dealing with animals. Then we take them all out at once. And then Shikamaru brings up a very good point here, saying that if he can just duplicate and these clones aren't necessarily like weaker and they don't need to be near him, why wouldn't he just keep one of his bodies, or his main body, back at their hideout and just send nothing but duplicates to the Hidden Leaf Village? Because by doing that, we wouldn't be able to wipe him out. And Koji says that is an issue, but we don't need to worry about it, because once divided, they can't help but flock together once they start losing their intelligence. So if even one of them waits behind, eventually the primal instinct will have them all group up together. And Shikamaru says, okay, I see, and that becomes more likely the dumber he gets. So that's why they need about 20 to 30 bodies to make sure his instinct starts taking over his actual intelligence. Inojin then asks, why is it necessary to confront him in the Hidden Leaf Village? If we know all this information, why don't we just attack him ahead of time before he gets into the village? Which, another good point. Koji once again has a really smart point. I was really surprised that they brought this up, and I'm actually glad they did. By fighting him in the Leaf Village, this will prevent Jura from intervening. Because Jura's targets are Boruto and Himawari. Boruto because Boruto's been a thorn in his side, and Himawari because she has the Nine Tails. So if either one of them moves, so will Koji. Or not Koji, sorry. If either one of them moves, so will Jura. But if Konoha's the battlefield, Jura won't show up. And then Shikamaru says that makes sense because for some reason, he's taken a liking to the village. He's been spotted multiple times at bookstores and sweets regularly. And Inojin is shocked by this, and then we get a little shot of Jura eating some sweets on a bench with a soda next to him, or just a drink. And I like how they give us the Hidden Leaf Village. People just kind of like, what is he doing here? Like, there's no alarms being raised. It's just like, what? And Jura's just sitting here casually taking a drink of his tea. We'll call it tea. And Inojin is just surprised by this. And Shikamaru says, we've been getting reports of sightings of him for a while now, but we have no choice but to leave him alone. And I've also ordered the police to make sure they keep their distance from him as well, to prevent aggravating him or causing any issues. So Koji proceeds to explain that Jura does not like anyone to run amok in Konoha. Mamushi knows that as well. So to avoid Jura's wrath, Mamushi will try his best to refrain from needless destruction. And Boruto asks, but once he gets stupid, won't that go away? And Koji says no, it's instinctive. No matter how stupid he is, his fear of Jura will never disappear. Neither will his sense of purpose, which is targeting Ada. Thus, in order to take on Mamushi by himself, getting rid of him in the Hidden Leaf Village is our best plan. Very good planning here. It all makes sense to me. It's kind of scary that even without his intelligence, he's that afraid of Jura that he won't destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. I mean, they just keep building up Jura. I mean, for good reason. Jura is a very, very formidable threat. So, this also does kind of help. I don't know if I want to say help, but like, it makes the beginning, if they do keep the beginning of the time skip that we've seen for who knows how many years now, ever since the beginning of Boruto, where Kawaki and Boruto are fighting on the destroyed faces of the Hokage, with the Hidden Leaf Village completely destroyed, you have to wonder, what did cause that? Because if it's not Jura. Jura does not want to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. So who did it? I mean, it could still be Jura. Maybe something happened that forced his hand to destroy the village, even if he didn't want to, but if it wasn't him, who was it? My money's still on Kawaki and Boruto ended up causing that somehow. But it just adds more mystery to that whole beginning, because this technically eliminates Jura, and it also eliminates the other clones as well, because if Mamushi's that scared of him, I doubt Hidari would do anything, and then we know what happened with Matsuri. I doubt Matsuri wouldn't do anything, so it's like, what exactly could they be planning? Or what exactly could be causing the destruction of the Hidden Leaf? We then cut back to the same group again. We didn't cut back, I don't know why I said that. We continue the conversation, and Inojin is actually a very important part of this upcoming battle, which is why they brought him in, because they need him to master a new jutsu. The jutsu is a superior version of the mind transfer jutsu, and it's the reason why Inojin was even invited here. Koji proceeds to say that Mamushi will show up in the Hidden Leaf Village in about 1 week. It might even be earlier than that. So we need you to perfect this ability within 2 days at most. And Inojin's a little worried about this because he's like, 2 days and I don't even know what the ability is. How am I going to do that? And Koji says it should be possible because it's something that you were going to come up with anyways. In order to avenge Himawari. Keyword, avenge Himawari. So, one of the timelines that Koji saw, Himawari died. How exactly? Did she die to Mamushi, to Jura? We don't know, but avenge is a very specific use of words. I do think this implies that Himawari did die in one of the timelines Koji saw, which led to Inojin coming up with this new ability. Now, I guess you could say, well, maybe she just got, like, gravely injured, or, like, you know, just extremely hurt, and maybe she's out of action for a while, or almost died, but those are really strong words, and even Inojin picks up on that. He says, "What did you just say?" And Koji says, "That sure got your attention. It's a future we must avoid, of course. But the techniques and theories that you gained from that timeline are of great value, so I'll make sure that you get them now, before it's too late." And this fires up Inojin. He says, "I don't need 2 days. I'll learn it in 1, just watch." And Boruto doesn't really say anything here, he just kind of glares off in the distance. We then cut to Amato, who is rewatching the footage of the fight between Kawaki, Jura, and Boruto. And Kawaki is there with him as well, so they're actually reviewing film to see if they can find any weaknesses or just see anything that could possibly help them take out Jura. Amato basically says his expression is hard to read, but it did seem like he took damage, and the tree that he grew is definitely the same tree that he was composed of. So not only do they heal wounds, but they also act as weapons and shields. So Kawaki says, so he has no weaknesses, essentially. Amato believes that weaknesses aren't even in the conversation. He might be impossible to kill. Kawaki retorts back by saying, "He can be killed. I felt it when I fought him. But not with my current strength. I need more." And Amato instantly does not want to go down that route. He says, "Don't take this the wrong way, Kawaki, but you really shouldn't." And then the most predictable thing happens. Kawaki proceeds to grab Amato by the throat and threatens him, saying, "If you want me to crush your throat," or, sorry, I phrased that wrong, saying, "Do you want me to crush your throat? Because if not, quit making excuses and just do what you're told, if you still want me to help with your daughter." And then we get the little flashback, or not the flashback, but the little look over to the pod, and Kawaki drops Amato, and Amato explains what he was saying, which is that his body can't tolerate much more. How can you fight Jura if you end up self-destructing first? Kawaki just kind of ignores this and says, "I don't like repeating myself. I'm only going to help you with your daughter after I kill our enemies. So hurry up and accept this. Your only choice is to take the gamble on whether I kill our enemies or I die first." We then cut to Konohamaru in his interrogation. Basically, Konohamaru is just saying, "Hey, I was interrogating Boruto just as I was ordered. The dude, I forgot what his name was, sorry. the dude from the Land of Fire, from like the head guy, is here. He's interrogating Konohamaru. I need to learn what his name was again. And he's basically just saying, look, this is why we need to investigate. This is the reason why you're here right now." And Konohamaru says, "Look, at that time of the interrogation, I did hate Boruto, but now I feel some kind of contradiction towards the idea of him as a traitor. Also, Sai is here. I actually really like that Sai is here, which I'll explain here in a little bit." And the guy basically says, "Look, I don't know what Boruto told you, but don't you think he might have just been playing you? And furthermore, do you truly understand what you're currently saying?" Because, you know, Konohamaru's kind of coming around to saying Boruto's not actually a traitor to the Hidden Leaf, and that would be kind of crazy to say because everyone else believes that he killed Naruto, one of the most beloved Hokages, the hero of the Fourth Great Ninja War, so him saying this is kind of huge. But the interrogator proceeds to realize that if this is how Konohamaru feels, and he also doesn't think Konohamaru is all that great, he calls him dim. He doesn't have the character of a mole or a rat, which means someone else helped Boruto escape. So he's already on to the fact that Konohamaru wasn't the guy who did it. So he's already suspecting someone else. We then see Konohamaru receive a mind transmission from Shikamaru, and he tells him, hey, answer only in your head. There's no time, so I'm going to be direct with you. Just stay calm and hear me out. I'm the one who let Boruto escape. So Shikamaru just goes ahead and explains to Konohamaru, or he doesn't explain, but he tells him, hey, I did it. I'm the one who caused all this. And Konohamaru is trying to stay calm, but it seems like Sai notices something here. If you look at these panels down here in the bottom left, we see Konohamaru kind of has like a shocked expression on his face. We see some sweat on his face. Now, he did have the sweat in the other panel, so we can't really say he started sweating the moment Shikamaru said this, but regardless, Sai kind of seems like he picked up on something here, which would make sense. You have to remember where Sai came from. He was a part of the Anbu. He was part of Danzo's Anbu. So, Sai would not be surprising if he's picking up on stuff here. Shikamaru proceeds to explain that he gave Mitsuki the code to unlock his shackles, and I'm still working with Boruto with my own free will. And Konohamaru asked him, but why are you doing this, Shikamaru? Shikamaru says, you understand now, don't you? Konohamaru proceeds to think back to what has happened, with Boruto telling him to get out with the bulb, that he's supposed to go to a certain place and wait there for further instructions. And Konohamaru realizes that Boruto was working with Shikamaru during the whole Hidden Sand mission, and that's why he showed up to help. Shikamaru proceeds to tell Konohamaru that it may only be a matter of time before they catch on to me and take action against me for what I've done. So I know I'm asking a lot of you, Konohamaru, but would you help me, or would you rather consider helping us out? And by us, he means Boruto, Inojin, Koji, and him. Shikamaru says, look, I'm not going to force you to do anything, but if you're willing to trust me, lend us a hand. Once again, we get another shot of Sai just looking, just glaring down Konohamaru. And I actually have a theory here. Sai is married to Ino, correct? So, Sai should have some understanding of the mind transfer jutsu. And Ino is like the whole head of the mind transfer jutsu now. You know, she is the most expert user of the technique now at this point, I believe. What are the odds that Ino and Sai, or maybe Sai himself, just learned a way to intercept mind transmissions, and he's hearing this conversation between Konohamaru and Shikamaru? That would explain why he's glaring so damn hard at him. Now, do I think that's like extremely likely? No, but I do think it's a 50-50 that Sai might be able to actually hear what Shikamaru is saying right now by being able to somehow interject himself into the mind transmission. Or maybe he can't hear what is being said, but he can feel the fact that Konohamaru is getting a mind transmission from someone. Maybe maybe him and Ino found a way to be able to do that at least. But Sai glaring here, I don't think it's random. I do think Sai knows or has an idea of exactly what's going on there. We then cut back to Sumari and Sarada, who are still over at Ada's place. Sumari says that she needs to head back to the lab soon. Sarada says that I should probably be leaving too. Ada proceeds to tackle Sarada and hug her, saying, I'm not letting you leave. We still have things to talk about. Sarada proceeds to ask Sumari if she can help her get away from Ada, and Sumari just says, have fun, I'll see you later, and leaves. As she exits the house, we get a very unexpected surprise here. Boruto's just standing outside the house, waiting for Sumari to come out. So this kind of catches her off guard. It caught me off guard. I was not expecting him to just randomly be here. And it looks like Mitsuki is either watching them from afar, or he detected that Boruto's in the Hidden Leaf Village somehow. It does show him kind of looking out of this porch area. So I'm assuming he either saw them, or maybe he's just sensing them. I don't know. But regardless, Boruto proceeds to unleash some chakra on Sasuke's sword. The Uchiha Flowing Blade Jutsu Hagaromo. Hagaromo? Hagaramo? Hagaramo? I'm probably butchering that. If I am, I'm sorry. I'll try to learn it for next time. But this actually gives us an explanation as to why the blade never breaks. It's a jutsu that increases a blade's sharpness and prevents it from chipping by continuously enveloping it in chakra. But Boruto lost focus, and because of that, it ended up getting chipped. So this is what happened when he was fighting Jura, and it makes sense that, like, out of all the characters that could possibly make Boruto lose focus on keeping this ability up, it would take someone as powerful as Jura. So that explains why the blade got chipped. It's because Boruto lost focus and ended up weakening the blade by not having his chakra covering the blade as well as it usually is. Boruto asked Sumire if she could fix it within the next week. Sumire is confused by this, just as I'm sure as many of us were reading this, and Boruto pulls out a scroll and hands it to her. Reading the scroll, she realizes that the technology that the scroll is describing doesn't exist yet. Though it is technology that Sumire will eventually develop through her current research. The Boruto's doing the same thing he did with Kawaki, the same thing Koji did with Inojin. He's providing them information from the future ahead of time in order to get upgrades or certain abilities that they need way earlier than what they were supposed to get it, or before it's too late. Boruto tells her that he can't say any more about it, but will she be willing to do it? Sumire says that if she were to use this technology to fix it, the blade might be reborn as something almost completely different. Is that okay? And Boruto says that as long as it ends up being stronger, I don't think my master would object. And she says it's fine, but there's one problem. Boruto asks, what's the problem? And we go back to the whole relationship issue here, with Sumire telling Boruto, no more class rep, you need to call me by name, Sumire. Boruto's just kind of surprised by this. He doesn't really say much, he's just kind of like, what? Or if this were animated, he would probably be going, Nani? And she just laughs and giggles and walks away and says, don't worry, I'm gonna jazz it up, look forward to it. And Boruto, I love this little panel of him down here, he just looks confused, shocked, and kind of just like, what just happened, you know? Just a little moment of reprieve in this arc. We then cut to several days later, and we are on the wall of the Hidden Leaf Village, and we see that Mamushi has arrived, asking, I wonder where Ada is. And he tells his duplicates, hey, don't forget, keep your chakra signatures erased, so those pesky peeping toms don't catch up on us. Which he's referring to the Mind Transmission Defense Force. And he has what looks to be 5 duplicates here. So we need 25 to 15 more of them here. Because right now they still probably have quite a bit of their intelligence. And with that, we end the chapter. So that means heading in the next chapter, or next month, we will be getting the confrontation with Mamushi. So we will see how that all pans out. Sorry about that, I had to cough. We've kind of gone over a lot of what this chapter has to offer. I think it was a really good chapter. A lot of really good setup. I really do hope Sai actually becomes a part of the gang. I don't know if he's actually listening in on the mind transmission jutsu. I wouldn't be shocked by it. I really do think it's a 50-50 on whether or not Sai can either detect it or even eavesdrop on it. But Sai is definitely suspicious, and I think Sai would be a really good addition to the team. But I am a little worried that with Inojin being involved, and how we've already seen him die once, technically he already died once in these fights, and seeing how Ino reacted to that, and Ino's already against Shikamaru working with Boruto, I'm kind of afraid that Sai and Ino are kind of being set up to call out Shikamaru. You know, they're gonna see Inojin is working with Boruto again, He's working with Boruto and Shikamaru again, and because of this, he's getting thrown into the front lines, and they're both going to be worried because getting thrown into the front lines at this age against these type of threats is insane. And I can see Ino maybe deciding it's time to raise the red flag on Shikamaru and expose him for what he's been doing. And Sai's going to be kind of there, you know, also reinforcing that idea because of what he's seen with the Konohamaru interrogation, some of his own suspicions. So I'm kind of afraid that might be where they're going, but honestly, I kind of want Sai to join the gang because, let's be honest, Sai would be a really good addition with all of his knowledge and how he's a really good, you know, like undercover operative and stuff like that. I really do think Sai would make a good addition to Boruto, Koji, and Shikamaru's team. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he ends up going against Shikamaru or with Shikamaru on this. In terms of Sasuke's sword, I am a little interested by this. Sumeri's saying that the blade might be reborn as something almost completely different. Has me wondering what she meant by that. Because at first I was thinking, oh, maybe what they're gonna do is, if you remember pre-time skip, Boruto had the chakra sword, right? Chakra blade. And I was thinking maybe they'll take that like idea and have it to where instead of Boruto having to perform the Uchiha's jutsu to keep the blade safe, he can just pour chakra into the blade and it'll form that chakra blade around the sword, and that will keep it protected. So it's technically easier. Instead of having to keep a jutsu up, he just has to keep his chakra flowing through the blade. Maybe that's something they could have done. But the way she talked about it being reborn as something almost completely different makes me wonder if they're going to turn the blade into an actual just straight up energy blade or chakra blade. I feel like that would be way too different. And if they do that, that would definitely lead more credit to the idea that that whole beginning time skip scene that we've seen with Boruto and Kawaki has been changed tremendously, because in that scene, Boruto still has just the normal sword. But if here, the blade ends up, or the sword ends up being turned into like an energy sword, chakra sword, I keep wanting to say energy, that completely changes that scene. I mean, we already have changes with like their attire. Boruto's attire is different. The scar in his eye is still the same, but like attire is different. Kawaki's attire is different. Boruto's blade will now be different. Like, these could just be minor cosmetic changes that they're making, but that same idea, it will still eventually be reached. Or maybe that whole sequence will just never happen exactly the way we've seen it. And if anyone ever asked, like, oh, why this whole thing got retconned? No, it didn't get retconned. That was one of Koji's predetermined timelines. But now, because of all the changes, we don't actually see that anymore. That's what could have been. But this is where we're at now with all the changes. So they could just do that to explain it away rather than saying it was a retcon, which, I mean, if they do, it's fine. But yeah, it's very interesting to see, because right now, it does seem like we're steering farther away from that whole opening scene. I do wonder what's going to be happening to the blade. I don't think we're going to be seeing the blade next week. Or not next week, next chapter. I feel like this will probably be 2 or 3 chapters out. Because the whole Mamushi fight's probably going to take, I want to say maybe 5 to 6 chapters. I think we'll be here for 5 to 6 months on this fight. I don't think it'll be more than 10. I think 10 would be the highest it would go. But yeah, I think about 5, 6 chapters I can see this going and wrapping up maybe in February or March. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But they set it up pretty well. Interesting to see what Inojin's new ability is going to be. What exactly is this new, advanced, superior version of the mind transmission jutsu that can be used against Mamushi? Is he going to be able to like blow up all of their minds at once? So that's how they take them all out in one fell swoop, because they're all exact duplicates. He just needs to transfer into one of them, and then from there he can just eradicate them all. Maybe that's the idea here. But regardless, like I said, really good chapter. I really liked it. They answered a lot of questions. They gave us some new dynamics, like with the whole Ada, Sumire, and Sarada stuff. We got Konohamaru possibly joining Team Boruto, and now we got Mamushi coming in to start his whole conflict. So I'm excited for next month. Let me know down below what you guys thought, if you guys are also excited. And with that, I will see you all next time. God bless, happy reading, and I will see you all later.